And with those famous words, I'm now joined by retired Canadian astronaut Colonel Chris Hadfield. He joins me from Corunna, Ontario. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, Angie. How are you?
Oh, I'm very, very happy and very delighted to be speaking with you today. And I mean, we've got a few minutes for this chat. We could go all day, but talk to me about the significance of this day.
It's significant at multiple levels. It's significant technologically. We learned more about the moon and the history of the Earth and how planets are formed than we'd ever learned in the previous 100,000 years. We learned and inspired a huge change in human expectation of what we could do. There were more PhDs per capita in the United States in the 10 years after Apollo than any time before and any time since. And it was huge for this little Canadian boy because 50 years ago today, as a result of what I saw on television right here, just at one of the cottages that I'm at, I decided to try and turn myself into an astronaut. Me and 100 million other little kids.
Well,
but it was hugely inspiring for the biggest television audience of anything that had ever happened in history.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are so happy that you were inspired by that and continued on that path, because you've given us some incredible stories, both here at home and in space. Another incredible Canadian, Owen Maynard, he played a very significant role in the Apollo program.
Yeah, in fact, he and I are born in the same town in Sarnia, Ontario. Owen was a pilot in the Second World War, but he was an engineer trained in Canada. He worked on Canadian aircraft, aerospace. When the Arrow was canceled, he went down to start working on the Apollo program. And he ended up being the chief designer of the lunar lander, the one that landed 50 years ago, just right about now, and the chief overall systems engineer at the Johnson Space Center down in Houston, where I lived and worked. Owen rose to the very top. He was the best of what Canada can give, and his efforts really contributed hugely to the successful landing 50 years ago right now.
It did, and we know that there's a great documentary, which you are in as well, exactly about that story, which is going to currently airing now. The moon landing 50 years ago today, what can we take from that experience, Chris, from what happened 50 years ago to our next mission on the moon?
Well, it really shows that natural human transition from a dream to the technology, to early exploration, and then to it becoming something a little more normal within the human experience. Whether it's building a ship and sailing across the Atlantic, building an airplane and flying across the seas, or building a spaceship and going all the way to the moon. And we've been exploring space. It's only recently, though, we've been starting to occupy space, living on the International Space Station. And we're almost right now at this stage, as the result of what happened 50 years ago, to not just be exploring, but actually, with good enough technology, start settling somewhere besides Earth. And we're right on the cusp of that. And to me, that's the legacy that this 50-year anniversary really demonstrates. It's the work that got us to where we are today.
Exactly. And as we look sort of, as you say, now beyond, do you think we could achieve more as a community internationally versus continuing that space race with individual countries wanting to sort of achieve things individually? Do you think we can get further if we came together as an international community in our space exploration?
Absolutely. The International Space Station is a great example of that. The 15 nations of the world, including Russia and the United States, Germany and Japan and Canada, we have been working together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the last 25 years on the International Space Station. We've been living there continuously for 19 years. All of those countries, hand in glove, peaceably exploring and settling the rest of the universe. That's a really important first step away from Earth. And all of those teams, including Canada and the Canadian Space Agency, are now signing together to continue that going further to orbiting the moon and to settling onto the moon over the next few decades. And to me, that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's the legacy of what started so long ago.
Such incredible times we're in right now, and of course, where we're going to go and beyond. Chris Hadfield, it is always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you.
Very nice to chat with you also. Thanks.